Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Joe Emilio Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. For those of you who have tuned in, and for those of you that are waiting patiently, thank you very much. We are starting a bit early because my guest and I are ready to go. But before I bring him on, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, if you are new to this channel, please like this video, please share it, and of course, please subscribe to my channel. That is absolutely free to subscribe. But if you like the content, you like what you see, you can support this channel by going to the link in the description below, and you can donate as much as you like, or you can join for as little as 40 Rand on my website. You go to support my channel in the link in the description below. And if you're a member for 6 months, you get a rebel hat, and you can choose any rebel hat. You might be able to get this one. Well, you could get this one after 6 months if you really wanted to. How about that? Hashtag FootSecANC. For those of you that don't know, every Friday is hashtag FootSecANC on Twitter. And if you see something else on Rebel Store, please feel free to purchase what you like. And ladies and gentlemen, tonight, please use the super chat function if you want your comment or question to be highlighted. By YouTube law, I have to address it. So bear that in mind if you want a question to be answered by my guest. And speaking of my guest, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I have someone from the ULA, that's the United Liberty Alliance. I first heard about them when I went to a protest. As you guys know, I do something called On the Ground, where I go to protest. I'm going to one on Saturday, and that's why I'm currently in Joburg. And I just document the entire event. And the last one I went to, I saw ULA there. I wanted to chat to the man behind everything, so he's graciously agreed to come onto the show and chat a bit about ULA. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show the one, the only, Mr. Hein Marx.
Evening, Joe. Good evening, listeners. Thank you for the opportunity, Joe, to
thank you so
of hope.
No worries. Thank you so much for joining tonight. It's a great pleasure to finally meet you. So very briefly and as quickly as possible, because I want to get into the nitty-gritty of things. But for those who don't know the ULA, please explain what your organization is.
The ULA first is not a political organization. We are basically a legal process. That's what we are. And we are a legal process following international law on secession. And basically that means we want to break up South Africa into two parts. Simple as that. And it's totally within international law and within South African law. So that's what we're doing. That's what we've been busy with and been doing for many years. The process, the law was written like that the legal process must take many years to complete, quite simply because a secession was written that you can't decide today that you want to secede tomorrow, have independence tomorrow, and then everything is done and over with. So this is why it's been taken so many years already, but we are virtually there, although virtually is worthless if you don't succeed in secession, if you don't fully finish the process. And the process in where we are at the moment is basically getting the will of the people. Or put it in a different wording, is democracy, meaning does the people, and we are talking for the minorities in South Africa, does the minorities want secession? Do they want to break away from the ANC? Yes or no? And without 50% plus one mandates, we've got absolutely no legal basis to carry on, and that's where we are.
All right. So here's my thing with independent movements, especially for the Western Cape. I, in theory, love the idea. Okay, like I think it's a cool idea. I understand why it's happening. I think the Western Cape, those who are for independence for the Western Cape, share a common ground that we're both sick and tired, or we're all sick and tired of the ANC reign, and we want to break away and all that stuff. So I get that, and that we have in common. My concern is, however, over the past few months, since I've been getting to know, Cape Independence Advocacy Group, Cape Party, now ULA, and there's Cape Exit, who I will also have on the show eventually. I feel like there's a lot of division between you guys, even though, yes, you show up. Like, for example, at the Cape Independence Advocacy Group, they had a march in Stellenbosch, which I also documented on this channel. I noticed a few different organizations there. Cape Exit was there. Cape Party was there. I don't remember if you guys were there. But so at a moment like that, everybody kind of banded together. But I still feel like there's, certain groups are doing their own thing. No one's really banding together. I feel like if we all united, pooled our resources together, this idea of Cape secession might become a little bit stronger. But it feels like everybody just wants to be chef in the kitchen, if that makes sense. Would you agree with me, or do you not see that as an issue? Like, am I making this up?
Joe, if the ULA was in the same boat of trying to get secession for the Western Cape, I totally agree with you, but we're not.
Okay.
The ULA is standing and is advocating and has put this to the international community that we want independence.
Okay.
In all the areas in the country where the minorities have been the majority when we started the process, according to the 2011 IEC figures. So the ULA is definitely not only advocating for the Western Cape. The Western Cape is only part of it. The area is much bigger. The area is call it the old Cape Province, meaning in today's terms, it's the Western Cape, the Northern Cape, and a big part of the Eastern Cape. It also includes the western part of the Free State and a small bit going into the Transvaal, including Pretoria. And if you look at our paperwork on our website, the letter that I wrote to Ramaphosa in February 2019, I think, it actually states all the numbers of the voting districts where we are the majority as the minorities. And who's the minorities? The minorities are basically all Europeans and all colored, Khoi, Indian people. And why did we determine us as a so-called, in terms of international law, group of people? Quite simply, because there's 114 reverse apartheid laws against those minorities. And it's called, I don't know how many there are that you call B, but that's the anti-apartheid laws. And on that basis, we have got 114 facts proving that we've got a base to get away from the ANC, apart from the fact that in the Constitution there are more than one article that supports it, as well, obviously, as International Article 1 of the International Covenant on Human and Political Rights. But it's definitely not only the Western.
I understand. I just want to mention very quickly that it appears we have a bit of an audio problem on your end. People are saying that they can hear me fine, but they're struggling to hear you. You're breaking up very badly. And like here, I'll pop up one comment. Hein is not clear online. Sound from Hein is very bad on that side as well. Hein, are you using a microphone or what's your setup?
I'm using my laptop as it is, and that I've always used. So I don't know. And I've got an extremely good Wi-Fi connection here. I think better than 99% of people in their houses, because I've got a dedicated Wi-Fi.
Okay. Then I'm not sure why we're having some audio difficulties. Would you mind doing me a favor and just exiting for brief and then coming back in? That might solve the problem and see if it works. So you just leave studio and then you use the link I sent you to come back in.
I'll do that.
All right, great. Thank you, Hein. And while he's doing that, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, thank you so much for tuning in. Those of you that are watching in a few moments, hopefully, I think that will help the situation. And we don't forget to also ask questions for those of you that have questions. All right, he's back. That was very quick. Let's see now if we can get reestablished.
Okay, I'm back. I don't know what the sound is like now, but yeah, I just basically went in and out.
Seems a little bit better. I don't know. We'll have to see as we move forward. All right. So ULA is basically an organization that defends and fights for the rights of minorities in South Africa.
Correct.
Okay. You don't necessarily want secession, but you want sovereignty for those groups, basically.
No, sure. We absolutely want sovereignty through secession. In fact, that's the only way to do it, is through secession.
Okay.
There are only two ways to get sovereignty in the world, and that is either through secession or through the Declaration of Independence.
Yes.
If you want to use declaring a war as another one, you can do that, but then again, you can't declare a war if you're not a country. So that, in our case, as a legal process, is not something that we can do, obviously.
But see, this is where I'm confused, because you just said you're not for secession of the Western Cape, but you are for secession. So I'm sorry, I'm still a little bit confused, and the audio is still breaking up. So it's yeah, it's a bit of a
okay. No, what you're misunderstanding, Joe, is we are totally in fact, we are the only organization in South Africa that are following the international law on secession, and secession is to get sovereignty. That includes the Western Cape. You said earlier, in your intro, that the people of the Western Cape and the ULA wants independence for the Western Cape. The Western Cape is only part of it. It's only one small part of the bigger area that we are advocating, fighting, and legally doing what we're doing for secession. So absolutely that's what we're doing, but the Western Cape is only a part of it.
Okay, I see. So I see what you mean. All right. So, but then again, so that I was right by saying, like, you guys would support the Western Cape seceding if it is a part of
absolutely
the whole idea, right?
Of course, yeah. Of course, we well, in fact, we've put many statements out. I think in 2019, we've put, in 2019 alone, 4 statements, official statements out, to say that the ULA will work with any organization that legally works towards striving and working towards independence.
Yeah,
absolutely. But now the unfortunate thing is it comes into legal.
Yes, I understand. All right, so I'm going to be honest with you, Hein. I'm sort of struggling. I hear what you're saying, but it's very difficult. The audio is like really bad. Some of the viewers are really complaining about it. Some of them are leaving. I'm not sure what's wrong. It's just the mic. The mic seems to be an issue. I do have a buddy of mine that's here that's kind of tech savvy. I don't know if he's around to quickly maybe give some advice, but if we can't sort out the audio, maybe we can schedule another time, because it's I don't want to waste your time. People are really complaining about the audio, and I feel this is an important message. I want people to be able to hear you. I want people to be able to understand who you guys are. Just one moment. He's not using a mic though. Sorry. Sorry. You're not using a mic, correct? You're using your onboard mic.
I'm using my onboard mic on a Dell laptop that I always use for all interviews. Just check this. I've got 14.2 gig meg speed, so the internet connection is also definitely not a problem.
Yeah. Is your fan over? Is the laptop fan making a noise?
No,
No. No.
nothing.
Yeah.
Totally quiet.
It's. Yeah. Yeah. I can hear it's quiet.
I only
See,
hear the
even
scene.
Brett's saying thank you, Joe. I have to agree. Yeah. So it's just what I'm not sure what's wrong. This hasn't. Again, people can hear me fine. But yeah, Hein. Do you have a mic around that you can maybe we can test and plug in?
Um, I don't think, well, hold on. Let me find out if my son's got one. I don't have one.
All right, cool. I'll wait for you for a moment. Yeah. All right. All right. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but I really don't want to waste his time, and he's a very busy man. Technical issues, unfortunately, but this is very important. I'm also struggling to hear him, so obviously you guys can hear me fine. So if we can't sort this out, we will definitely schedule for another interview, and hopefully we'll have it all sorted and we'll make sure it's fine. So yeah, really, really apologize, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Anyway, don't forget to go check out Rebel, ladies and gentlemen. You can get a hat like this, or you can support the channel for 6 months. Link in the description below. Support my channel. If you support my channel for 6 months, 40 Rand a month, debit order, 40 Rand a month. That's really cheap. And after 6 months, you can choose a hat off Rebel and you can get one of these. All right, so here we go. He's coming back now. Let's see. All right, he's got a mic key. He's gonna plug it in. This might help. Sorry once again, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's see.
Can you hear me now, Joe?
Hello?
Yeah. Joe, can you hear me?
Yes. Let me ask you something. What browser are you using?
What browser? Google.
Are you using Chrome?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're using Chrome, okay.
Can you hear me?
One moment. You'll just need to go to your settings there at the bottom and make sure that you've selected the correct mic. Oh, wait, there we go. I think we hear you. Just talk for me.
Yeah.
Oh, now it's fine.
I can hear you.
And now you sound perfect.
Is it better?
Much better. There we go. All right. Awesome. Fantastic.
And I fight with my son all the time with these internet games stuff, and now it works. Thank you, Konrad. Okay.
Fantastic. All right, cool. Now we can move forward. I'm so sorry, ladies and gentlemen. But there we go. We are sorted. Anybody who's left the conversation, tell them to come back. All right, cool. So just to clear things up, where we are now, ULA fights for the sovereignty. Fight for the sovereignty of the minorities. You are for secession of the Western Cape, but Western Cape is not the only part of it. There's other parts in South Africa that also are part of that movement, so to speak, or want secession, the idea of secession. Great. Now, this I want to know. ULA, you are legal. You fight it. You're fighting the legal battle of things, correct?
Correct.
So you're a lawyer.
That's correct. No,
Okay.
I'm not a lawyer.
Okay. So what? How did you get involved in this then?
How did I get involved in it? That's a good question. I suppose my political and I hate party politics, so I'm not talking about party politics. But I suppose my political career started in 1983 when I studied in Germany, and not law, no, international banking. When I was approached by the South African Consul General in Hamburg to start talking to the schools in Germany, because I was obviously young, about 1984, about South Africa. And yes, I was quite involved in that. I had many conversations at schools where the consul organized the meetings. They came to it and basically told they called it the gymnasiums, which means it's the German schools where the children decide they want to go and study after school. So they go to school 13 years. And I spoke to the so-called 13-year classes about South Africa. And yeah, that obviously started getting me involved in the whole process of the country and what it's all about. So the reality is, then later, this was obviously after my army time. I was phoned by it's quite a funny situation. My secretary came to me once and asked me, there's somebody on the line that says he's PW Botha, he wants to talk to you. I said, yeah, it must be one of my friends, put the joker through. So when I answered the phone, it wasn't a joker. I immediately recognized the voice, and it was PW Botha. And the long and the short of that was that I did not only become his friend, but also his secretary. And obviously that gave me a lot of insight into the good, but as well as the bad side of politics and the backstabbing and whatever's going on in politics.
Yeah.
And the lying.
Just sorry, Hein, I'm going to ask you to do me one more favor. Sorry, people are saying that you should move the mic slightly closer to your mouth, just to hear you a bit closer. I don't think your son's going to like that.
I don't know. If does it make a difference?
It does. Okay, people should be able to hear you perfectly now. Sorry. Oh boy, I hope your son didn't see that. He's probably like, Dad. Sorry, continue with what your story there.
Well, in any case, yeah. Then obviously I got involved with him until he died, and then I started the process, because obviously as part of all of this was the big question is very simple. What is the solution for the problem that we've got in South Africa? And we're not going to talk about the problem, because I think if we start talking about the problems, we're going to start crying and we'll talk about a month about it. That's irrelevant. What is the solution? And looking at it from a political point of view, the end result was very clear. There is only one solution to the problem, and that is international law secession, meaning that each group of people that determine themselves and group themselves as a group of people has got the right to self-determination, to sovereignty. And yeah, it's a long a long path that I followed. It's a long thing that we've done, but the reality is, I spent a lot of time on international law, trying to understand what it's about, basically not as a lawyer, but I think learning how international law works. And yes, I can say this, understanding the law on secession better than, definitely 100% better than the average attorney or advocate in South Africa, for no other reason, because they don't work with it. So yeah, that's how I got involved, and basically following the whole, call it dream if you want to, of solving the problem. Because the problem, since I started, from the government's political side, definitely didn't get better. In fact, it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse. I think most people will say by the day, but let's call it by the week or by the month if you want to. The point is, it's getting worse and worse and worse. And we started looking at this in the later parts of 1999 already, because the problems virtually started not long after 1994. And that's got nothing to do with what nationality or color or whatever you are, if you drink Coke or not, or Pepsi.
Mm.
The point is, the problems started becoming very clear very quickly, but it escalated and is busy escalating at a massive speed. So the fact that I started with the whole process of secession, whatever happens in the end, at least I know, and it's been proven already, was the right decision. There is no other solution. Because at the end of the day, if you've got laws like we've got laws in South Africa against a certain group, well, we know what happened in 1994. If there were laws against one group, it doesn't last. The sad thing is that the people that live through it and basically gain from it, they die. They die rich, happy people. And the rest of the millions of people are sitting with a problem. Now the sad thing is that group of people, and we are here talking about the ANC, or must I spell it for you? You spell it CANCER. That's how you spell it. So the reality is their own people are suffering.
Yeah.
We've got to find a solution. And we are doing it in terms of international law. The process have been lodged with the United Nations, with many other countries, according to the prescription of how it must be done.
Well, Hein, here's the thing, right? So there's other people. I've spoken to a few South Africans about secession. I like to ask people, what do you think of secession? And a lot of people, let me actually say this, a lot of South Africans, tell me their response is always, it's never going to happen. So how do you convince someone that it's a possibility?
Put it this way. Just remember one thing. We will never have name changes in South Africa. We will never in South Africa have massive, unbelievable corruption going on. In fact, the communists, the terrorists will never take the country over. Well, it happened. It's happening.
Yeah.
In Zimbabwe, it's a free country. Everything is going to be perfect. Land grabbing will never happen in Zimbabwe. The economy will never fall. Joe, the reality is people, and I smiled when you said you talk to people about secession. You know, it's a sad thing. 99% of the people doesn't even know what secession means. They don't know what the legalities and the legal process means. This is part of the problem with all the other good things about social media. But social media makes of each and every person, I call them the keyboard warriors.
Yeah.
Makes them absolute, perfect, knowledgeable people about each and every subject that they read about. So, to answer your question, how do you make people like that believe it? Very simple. You've got a choice. Either you want to be away from the ANC. It doesn't cost you anything, by the way, because the stupid Hein Marx and his cronies are paying for it. Or you stay with the ANC. Very simple thing. Your choice. If they don't want to be on their own, then they stay with it. What do we ask them? All we ask the people, and that's all we ask, is go and give your mandate. And the mandate only says, yes, I want self-determination. Simple.
Yes. Okay, so maybe we should start with that actually, or not start, but like maybe we should get onto that. Is the process? As far as I understand, there needs to be a referendum, in which the people will say, or basically vote if they want a secession, and basically declare like, oh, we want to be independent, and then I believe you need a 50% plus one to make that happen, and then you also need international acceptance. So I've very paraphrased that a lot, but maybe you can just very briefly just explain the process to get to independence.
Okay, Joe, yeah, except it doesn't start with a referendum.
Okay.
The way that, and I mean, there is no prescription in international law exactly which path you must follow. Oops, sorry, I
No
got
worries.
so excited I hit my
No worries.
laptop. There's no 100% description of exactly how you must follow, but yes, eventually it ends up with a referendum. The way that we're doing it at this stage is in terms for us to have locus standi in the international community. We need the mandate. It's got nothing to do with a referendum. We need the mandate of 50% plus one of the group of people that we're talking about, the minorities. So this is where we are now. Once you've got that mandate, and there is no group in South Africa, not one, that has got the mandate for the minorities at this stage. In fact, we were the first organization that started with this, that wants to get the mandate that we can talk for the minorities in the international community, because this is part of the problem. You see, people, this is very interesting, people want to only see it from their point of view, but when they argue and it suits them, they want to see it black and white, yes or no. Okay. Unfortunately, it's not that easy in life, and definitely also not in this case. Before 1994, the ANC had the world's ears. They had no mandate, nothing. And the world, not the ANC, the world got the ANC, South Africa. The ANC, with some of their people that have actually left them now, that are now so very clever, wants to get into politics, that I heard the other night said, "Oh, you shot at me, but you could never hit me." I just had to laugh, because the poor, let me rather look at my words, because if any of us shot at him, he wouldn't have been here. That's the biggest lot of nonsense that I've heard in my life. The reality is that the world was behind the ANC, because at the end of the day, the reality is the ANC's international, call it job that they've done to advertise themselves, was exactly 1,000,000 times better than what we are doing at the moment. And I say we, all of our minorities, including the ULA, to get our story out. Why? Because the world does not stand 100% behind us. The countries that do stand behind us are absolutely in the minority at this stage. Luckily, in terms of law, once we have declared independence, you need one country, only one, to then acknowledge that independence, and then you've got independence. But the reality is, if you look at what is happening in South Africa at the moment, exactly like you said earlier, standing together. No, we would rather say, no, it's never going to happen. No, what they're doing is wrong. No, it won't work. No. But they can't stand together and say, we've got a problem. Let's sort this problem out. It's much easier to be negative than to support. Although that support doesn't mean you've got to go and burn flags and burn buildings and kill people and rape women and whatever. It only means it'll take you 30 or 60 seconds, depending how old you are. It'll take me most probably 2 minutes to just say, yes, I want independence. That's your mandate. All you've got to do. We're not asking for your left leg or your canary or your wife or your dog, nothing. Just the mandate. We'll do the work. Why? Because we understand what it's about. And then the next thing comes in. Those same people that say, no, it'll never work. No, it can't work. No, there's no that. Joe, just one question to them. Just one. What have you done to solve the problem? And I can guarantee you that virtually 100% of those people have done nothing except being keyboard warriors and being clever, or so-called, they think they're clever, on social media.
I agree. Yeah, well, there's it's a range of people that I've spoken to, from elderly to young, each with their own opinion about secession. A lot of them think it's a pipe dream. I think what I've noticed is, over the lockdown especially, is that the idea has definitely entered into the homes of many people, even more so than a few years ago. More and more people are basically talking about secession, which is the start of it, which is the start of a good thing. Once an idea starts to get out there and spread like wildfire, it's a matter of basically controlling that wildfire and making sure that it spreads in the right direction, if I can put it that way. If there is a good direction for wildfire, but you know what I mean. So having said that, you need a mandate. Cool. So people, let me actually bring up your website now. Ladies and gentlemen, please go visit ulacongress.com. You will get into, or lead you to this website, lovely website, and all the information about ULA is on there. And as you can see here, it says mandates. You can register for a mandate, or basically put your name and all your credentials, whatever that might be, and you can register. And yeah, it's very straightforward. So you collect all this stuff when people enter, and it's basically, would you call it a vote for independence? No,
No,
okay,
it's not a vote. It's not a vote. It's
Okay.
only giving your mandate to the ULA to say that you can talk for me as a person that you're giving your mandate in terms of only one thing, and that is for independence. That's all. It's got nothing to do with anything else. We can't decide which side of the street you must live on, what color car you must drive, what you must eat, what you must wear. Nothing. It's only for independence.
All right. So how far are you guys in this fight for independence?
Joe, the whole process, as I said, it takes years to finish. And we are, and in fact, I think last year or so, I started seeing on internet, people started talking about, because obviously somebody sat down and started making their own calculations. They said, we are 97% there. And even that wasn't good enough for a lot of people. They said, no, but how can you say it's 97%? It's closer to 95% or whatever. That's irrelevant. The point is, let me rather tell you what we've done in terms of the steps, or more important, let me tell you what is outstanding in terms of what we've got to do. What is outstanding in terms of what is required in terms of international and secession is, where we are now, you need the mandate. Now, the mandate obviously must be from 50% plus one of your people. Otherwise, you're not talking for the people, because that's the so-called will of the people, and the other word is that's democracy. So that is outstanding. Once you've got the mandate, because that mandate says only one thing. And again, I want to make it very clear, because there are people that, I don't know, for some reason think they're very clever. This is not a referendum that we are holding. We are getting mandates. That's all it is. And those mandates we are collecting according to international law, which means any person can try and verify it if they want to. Unlike other organizations that jump, I think it was last week, they jumped with something like 30,000 people in a matter of, I think it was 4.5 minutes. That's interesting, eh? Yeah. I would love to see the server in South Africa that can handle that. I don't think it exists, but bottom line is, the mandates that we get must be verified, and it will be verified by independent auditors once the time comes. So once you've got the mandate, and I'll come back to this now because it's extremely important. Once you've got the mandate, then we go to the government, and if I say go, it's a letter that's delivered to them according to law, and it's delivered by the sheriff of the court to then demand that we have a referendum. That's what international law says. That's not what I'm saying. You then demand your referendum. Why? Because on the 17th of December 2018. Was it 18? Yeah. Or 17. I can't even remember. I wrote a letter through our legal team, advocate, to the president, who at that stage was Zuma, to say that we now accept that all internal remedies have been exhausted. Why? Because that's one of the very, very difficult, but one of the very important requirements of international law. You must exhaust all internal remedies. I wrote a letter to him and say, we now accept that all internal remedies have been exhausted and that we are now planning for secession. Now, to the clever people that doesn't want to like to hear this, and this is the interesting thing. Ask yourself the question, Joe, why wouldn't you, if you're part of the minority group, why wouldn't you like to know that we have exhausted all internal remedies? Except if you've got a stake in either the corruption or the salary or the whatever that the ANC government is directly or indirectly keeping you in a position or a job, or whatever, or as a tenderpreneur. The point is, once we have had that letter delivered by the sheriff of the Court of Pretoria, in law, if the government, in this case the president, did not agree that all internal remedies is not exhausted, then in law he had to come back to us and say, no. That's how simple it is. No, it's not exhausted. We still have to talk because there are letters and letters and letters from and to the government. Well, they didn't. If you want to call that stupid or arrogance or whatever you want to call it, the reality is in law they did not come back and say, we do not accept that all internal remedies have not been exhausted. So the point is, once you've got those mandates for secession, then you demand, like I said, that's the next thing, you demand a referendum. So now the next logical thing comes in. What does the government do? They ignore you. So you write another letter. So they ignore you again. But then again, you see, we are very stupid. I mean, myself, the advocates and attorneys that are involved in the ULA, we are all very, very stupid. According to the ANC, as well as some of the other people that doesn't like what we're doing, quite simply because they don't believe it's going to happen, like you said. They don't believe it. They don't have a clue what it's about, but they don't believe it. So we are so stupid that they will ignore it again. And then, and there's no set limit for this, we can decide. Do we accept their ignorance of not reacting to our letters of demand, which, by the way, is not only given to them, but it's also given to the international community. Each and every time it's been given to them. We can decide, do we accept it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 10 times? Irrelevant. The point is, one of two things can happen. They can either come back to us and say, all right, we will give you your referendum. Because in the process, the international community can start forcing them to do it. Exactly the same that happened before 1994 with the National Party. They can be forced to do it. So then we've got our referendum. Alternatively, they can really just blatantly ignore it. But that doesn't mean that we disappear and the process of secession disappears into thin air. In fact, then we declare a unilateral declaration of independence according to international law. What is a declaration of independence? A declaration of independence is a piece of paper with your declaration on it, which is not only given to the government, but also to the international community. Once you've declared your UDI, then, this is what I mentioned earlier, you need one country, just one, to accept your independence. And in that moment that that country accepts it, you are sovereign, you've got sovereignty, you are independent.
Well, I
Now,
think
one of
in this sorry, I'm going to stop. Just want to say something here. I think in this process that you've just outlined for us very nicely and detailed, I think I do think the ANC is going to ignore it. I think the ANC is going to ignore every single
agree with you.
attempt. I think they're arrogant enough to do so. And this is something that Phil Craig from CIAG told me. You know, he used a very beautiful analogy of saying that, well, basically it's like a marriage, and we want, or Western Cape, or the secession movement wants to basically break away from the marriage. Now, if there's a disgruntled wife that wants to break away from her husband, there's very little the husband can do to make it impossible. Well, he can make her life a living hell, but at the end of the day, if a wife really wants to get away, they'll get away. And I think you've just pretty much explained that, if I can say it, divorce process from South Africa. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, well, yeah, and then, yeah, you're right. Except you missed one thing there. What if the husband wants to get away?
Well, I think Cape Town's very beautiful, so I think Cape Town is a she. That's why, or the Western Cape.
Okay, so then the other thing that comes up quite simply, because you know we not yeah, we might be called stupid, but we're stupid, but we're not that stupid. We've got to look at all the different possibilities. Because some of the people say, yes, but the ANC won't allow it. And if you then do it, they will attack you and there will be repercussions.
Yeah.
Okay. So what repercussions are we talking about? Repercussions mean, and I want to go back to what I said earlier, once you've declared your unilateral declaration of independence, and one country have acknowledged that you are sovereign. Okay? Understand that you're sovereign. The moment that they react, police or military-wise or whatever, against you, it's war. It's a declaration of war. That's what it is. Now, very interesting to those same people that wants to have all the answers that doesn't have any. What happens if, in this case, and I'm using the terms in international law, the mother country, in this case the ANC, if the mother country, who's a different sovereign country than your new seceded sovereign country, attacks that country, but that country, you've got to understand the concept now, that new country, us, may not, in our case, according to Article 199 of our Constitution, form an army. So overnight, just like that, overnight, you are, in fact, it's much quicker than overnight, you are sovereign, but you don't have an army. So what, in effect, are they doing? They're not only attacking another country, they're attacking civilians. It's logic. That is the reason why international law says, and I will quote international law, and then you may defend yourself in any way possible. What does it mean? It actually goes against the Geneva Convention as well. In any way possible. Why? Because you don't have a military. You're a sovereign country, but you're civilians. You may defend yourself in any way possible, but international law goes further than that. It says that either you, the United Nations, or a country of your choosing, must come and defend you against your, and they say very clear, your mother country. So let's go one step back. In December 2018, December 2018, no, sorry, 2018, that's correct. A new law was promulgated in America. It's Article S1158, Elie Wiesel Genocide Act, where that law says very clear. And remember, we're talking about America now with a new, I don't know if we call them communists or total liberalists or total corrupt or whatever you want to call the new government in America, because not even the Americans know what they want to call them. They just know that there's a massive problem. That's irrelevant. I just want to give you the law. Article S1158 in America that came into effect December 2018, and it was actually made public beginning of January 2019, says America must, and this has got nothing to do with South Africa, must act against the prevention of genocide in any other country. So in a way, America has actually taken over for themselves, well, either over or with, whatever you want to see it, the so-called job of what the United Nations were supposed to do.
Yes.
Why do I say it's supposed to do? What happened in Rwanda? In Rwanda, not only the people of Rwanda was in the genocide, even the United Nations people were killed because they were fast asleep. So America made Article S1158. So what am I saying here? I'm saying that if the ANC wants to attack a new independent country, it's international law that they will not only fight against us, they will physically fight against the world. That's what the law says, not me. So then you've got independence. You asked me, where are we in this process? That's what's outstanding.
So you need to be clear on that. What exactly is outstanding?
So what is outstanding is the mandates.
Yes.
Then either the referendum or alternatively the Declaration of Independence, the Unilateral Declaration of Independence. And then obviously the last point is then the acceptance of one other country of your independence.
Yes. So I think what some people, and this is like you mentioned earlier, like a lot of people say like, oh, we're going to be attacked. A lot of people think that we're going to be attacked before we even get a chance to declare independence. So the moment that this idea of secession starts gaining even more traction, a lot of people think that, the ANC is going to send like a lot of, people from the Eastern Cape or wherever, or wherever they are from, and send them over to Western Cape so that they can vote in the election, keep ANC in power, maybe overthrow the DA power. There's like a lot of politics, cause like a lot of fights and stuff like that. Like the People's War, basically, that we hear, the ANC did during when they wanted to even get power. The People's War was a strategy they used to also help them get into power. And a lot of people think that that's just going to be a sort of repeat of that. So we won't even get a chance to declare independence because the ANC would have put this secession movement under so much strain that we might give in. Do you think that's a possibility?
Joe, absolutely. But to answer you on that, firstly, remember one thing, the legal process is, and I don't want to use the figure, but definitely in the 90% finished. There are only 3 steps left. So based on that, the moment that they attack us, we declare a unilateral declaration of independence immediately in any case. So the point here is that the ANC, with their absolute arrogance, thinks, like they've said before, will be in power until Jesus comes. And then they've even said they will kill him again. That was Malema. The reality is, I think that the National Party most probably thought the same thing, that they'll be in power forever. Arrogance is a bad thing. It's really a bad thing. If the ANC wants to attack the independent movements, who are they going to attack? Me? As the president of the ULA? They're welcome. Shoot me, kill me, put me in jail, because I can guarantee you that'll make the movement much stronger. When I started with this whole secession movement many years ago, and now I'm not exaggerating, I was laughed at. I was laughed at. In fact, I was made, or tried to be made, a joker by the Freedom Front Plus, who, funny enough, now their leader says in Marula Media, no, they don't support it. And the leader in the Western Cape says, yes, they do support it. So nobody really knows what's going on there, as much as they also don't know. The point is that when I was there, for no other reason than to drive self-determination, because I thought that was the party, the political party to use to drive it. And I made it very clear. I made it very clear to all of them before I joined. I was laughed at. I was basically ostracized. Self-determination. Are you stupid? What area do you want? How do you want to get it? I said, well, I'm not going to go into detail of that now, but the reality is there's the answers. There's international law. And now suddenly, definitely not all of them, but every second person in the Freedom Front Plus also talks about self-determination. So to come back to what you said, you know what? When I started this movement, I was laughed at for self-determination. And every second person on the street now realizes that's the only option. That's the reality, Joe.
All right, so I think
somebody else has got another option, another solution. I would love to hear the other solutions.
Well, the only other solution I think is to go to the voting polls and try and let, I don't know, some other party rule for a little bit. But I mean, even that's like, people, even when you say that, like, let's just put secession aside for a second. Even when you say go vote, just vote for, I don't know, whatever, DA, Cape Party, ZACP, whatever party anyone really wants to vote for, as long as it's not the ANC and EFF. A lot of people will say, yeah, but the voting system doesn't work here, or the ANC are going to stay in power, and blah, blah. It's the same people that say, secession is never going to happen. It's that negativity that I find that South Africans have at the moment when an idea is presented to them. And I feel exactly the way you do, where it's like, well, are you just going to sit there and complain, or are you going to do something about it? If you don't want to have secession, then at least freaking vote. And if you're not going to do either or, then you have no right to complain about load shedding. You have no right to complain that you don't have a job. You have no right to complain that you can't feed your family, because you have the power to do something, but you're choosing not to. And that, to me, is un-South African. If you're a patriot about this country and you love your country, do something about it. And I know that's a bit of a contradiction when it comes to secession, because yes, you're a proud South African, but you want to break away from South Africa. So in doing so, you're no longer South African. But at the same time, I don't think that if secession happens, I don't think whatever we're called, the I don't know, some for argument's sake, say the Cape of Good Hope. I don't know what the country's going to be called, the Republic of the Cape or whatever. I don't think it's going to be that much difference to South Africa. There's still going to be a large amount of South Africans that have now just changed nationality, but the culture will be the same. It's just the only thing that's going to be different is the fact that we're no longer ruled by a tyrannical government. We'll have hopefully an economy that is booming, and people are finally working and getting into the middle class and growing and all that stuff, and even becoming that rainbow nation that was promised so long ago in 1994. That's what I think is going to happen. I think South Africa will just, or the old South Africa, if you will just, I don't know, continue to go down the wrong path that it's going to right now. And I think all the naysayers, I'm not gonna lie. Your message here gives me hope. To just go on and give a mandate. So if you're for this, and if you want anybody else, or if you want to try and not convince, but I would strongly recommend those of you that are watching now, please share this interview right now. Tell them that this all we need now is a mandate. Let's take it step by step. Even the naysayers, take it step by step. All you have to do is just sign the mandate. That's it. That's it. Just step by step. Let's sign the mandate. Let's get there. Let's get to that 50% plus one, and then we'll take it from there. It's step by step with these things, and I think that a lot of people want it now, and it's like it doesn't work that way, unfortunately, if you want to do things right. And you've definitely given me a bit more hope now through this conversation. There were some things I didn't know it worked this way, but yeah, I hope that people will share this interview, and I know it's not an easy road. I know there's still going to be a lot of battles, figuratively and maybe even literally. And I don't want war. I don't think anybody wants war. But like you said, if it's declared on us, then let them cast the first stone, so to speak. I think would probably be the best strategy. So yeah.
Joe, the reality is, what do we all want? We want happiness. We want freedom. We want success. We want a future not only for ourselves, but for our children. We want to be happy. Just the normal things. But how do you do it? And let's just go to the economy. Forget about the politics now, because unfortunately, the politics, is actually what causes all of the problems in any country. Yeah. Because the politics also determines the economy. Doesn't matter what you say, doesn't matter what you do. The economy of a country is determined by the politics of that country. Point. Simple as that. Even the value of your currency. Now, what are we striving for in a new country? We're striving for all of that. And how are we going to get to it? Well, firstly, with a very, very strong financial team. Believe me, we've got a very strong financial team. And remember, we have people literally all over the world. England, America, New Zealand, Holland, Germany, Georgia. And I'm talking about South Africans. I'm talking about expats that are there. The economy is the one thing that we will change, literally. And I mean, I had a discussion with somebody this morning again, an engineer friend of mine. And he said, Hein, is it really that simple? And I said, it depends only on one thing. Only one thing. The will of the government. Do you want to do it? Yes or no? Now, the reality is that this lawlessness that we've got in this country, this absolute ignorance for anything with value and law, must be crushed. And I'm talking about crushed. How do you crush it? Zero tolerance for any crime. Simple. But how do you build the economy? To give the people not only hope that they will get somewhere, and in the process jobs, but to start off with. To give you an idea, and this is already on the table, it's there, it's done. In fact, today we got our confirmation that our new money system have been registered. And I can tell you, it's called the Guilder. Why? Because that was the first money that was used in Southern Africa in the Cape, was the Dutch Guilder. We wanted to call it the Cape Guilder, and we were actually very nicely asked by another country not to use the name Cape Guilder, because they would like to use our currency as well. Interesting, huh?
Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
For the financial people, they will gasp and don't believe what I'm saying. Yes, you're hearing me totally right. Yes, another country wants to use our new financial system. Why? Because it's taken very long to put a very complicated, perfect system together, as perfect as you can get. And then what do? We do not punish you before you start a business by saying, because you're a business, and I'm attacking the current systems. And the current systems, I'm also talking about pre-1994. Because you're a business, you pay higher tax. Because you're a business, you pay higher for electricity. Because you're a business, you've got to use this license and that license. What licenses? For what? It's a piece of paper. It's nothing. It's a piece of paper. You do not keep your businesses from operating by taxing them out of business before they started. That's the problem of the capital world at the moment, in the world, especially in South Africa. So therefore, our system, we've already made 100% sure our personal tax will be 0%. Our company tax will be 0%. Joe, as a matter of interest, do you know how much tax you pay at this stage as an average? Average.
I'm unemployed at the moment, so
No, any person. No, not you as a person, but
it's like I know VAT is 15%. That's pretty much all I know. Yeah.
The average tax that people pay in South Africa is in the region of 70 to 75% on their earnings. Yeah.
Jeez, it's a lot.
On your fuel, on your VAT. Even a tire that you buy for your vehicle, you pay, I don't know, the thing went up, I think it's 70 odd rand per tire, extra, so-called destruction fees afterwards. You pay your taxes to your local municipality, you pay tax. One of these days they'll tax you to breathe air. It's about 70%.
They want to tax the solar panels now and all that stuff. So yeah, there's
ridiculous.
Yeah.
The reality is we will have a 0% tax as private or companies. And we will only have, and for the financial people, they will, if they do the calculation very quickly, they will understand how incredibly good it is, not only for the country, but obviously also for the people.
Yeah.
A 5% transactional tax.
Okay.
In a way, it's the same as VAT. 5%.
Yeah.
That's all. So any transaction that you do, 5%. That will not only give us more than enough money for the fiscus, but it'll give us more than enough money to do infrastructure projects in the new country. And then you've got to ask yourself the question, but don't, you'll go mad if you do. But how is it possible to be successful on 5% if the current government is going under at approximately 75%? And the answer is much simpler than you think. Incompetence, corruption, stupidity, and not the will to sort it out. Why? Because it's not the government that goes under. The individuals, they flourish. They don't care about their own people. That includes the people that are the tenderpreneurs. They don't want secession because then they won't be able to do it. Joe, we've got such a rosy future. If our people just want to start waking up, take 30 seconds or 60 seconds and give their mandate to have independence. Because there are more than enough honest, intelligent, knowledgeable people in this country that can run it. But who are the people that must run the new country? Because that's the other question that comes up all the time. Oh, yes, it'll just be new politicians again. No, definitely not. What about if I tell you that nobody in our new country will be in the new government if they don't have a minimum of 10 years successful own business experience?
Interesting. That's interesting. That's very
Because what
interesting.
is a country? What is a government other than a business? In fact, in most cases, the biggest business in a country.
Mm.
It's a
An
business.
interesting policy that I think is worth a try. I mean, one thing's for
What's the other
sure,
side of it? Stay with the ANC.
no, well, that's what I was about to say. I mean, like, it's clear that the ANC, I don't believe, like, everybody always praises, like, Cyril, like, oh, he's a businessman. No, he's not. He was given all these businesses. He got them through corruption and through the BEE policies and stuff like that. He didn't work. I don't think he lifted a finger in any of those businesses. He just got the profits. And, the finance minister the other day saying that he doesn't know what machine learning is should tell you enough about what he knows about businesses. So yeah, I don't believe for 1 second that the current government knows what they're doing when it comes to business.
So suddenly it makes sense what I said in terms of successful business experience.
Exactly. I think I would agree that yeah, there needs to be you need to be a bit business savvy when you run a country. I mean, you're talking about economies and people working and stuff like that. Businesses you want other countries to invest in your country. So obviously they want to return. So it makes sense. It makes sense that someone in who's a president is business savvy, and unfortunately, that's what people didn't understand about Donald Trump. He was a businessman before he was a politician. Yes, he said the most stupidest things ever from a politician point of view, but there's no arguing that he made the economy so much better in America since like the 90s. And no one can argue that, which uplifted the people in America. It uplifted people, even the African communities and the Mexican communities would say that Trump's done amazing things for them because now they're off food stamps. And they're providing for their family, which is what the people want, and it's what people in South Africa want. People in South Africa want jobs. I was at the SASA in Belleville, asking people who were waiting to apply for social grants and stuff like that. They were all saying they want jobs. They don't want to be in this situation, but they want jobs, and there's no jobs out there. And that's one of the biggest problems of the ANC, like always promising, like, yeah, we're going to open for 500,000 jobs for you guys. Sounds like a lot, but when you take the population size, 500,000 is but a drop in the big ocean of unemployment. So and unemployment now rising to 42%. It's crazy.
Joe, remember one thing. One of the biggest misconceptions which the government, especially the ANC, is totally misusing and bullshitting most people is that they will create jobs. It's not the work of a government to create jobs. The government's job is to get the total atmosphere for businesses to thrive. Businesses must employ people, not a government.
Absolutely, I agree with that. So I've seen a few comments about, and this one actually annoys me when people not disagree, but they have questions about secession. And one of the questions are like, what about the borders? What about the borders? Where's the borders going to be? People are so worried about the borders, and it boggles my mind because I've had this conversation with Cape Independence Advocacy Group as well. When the border, when let's just say for argument's sake, it's the Western Cape that breaks away, right? And the borders of the Western Cape are effectively the border of the new republic. It's gonna work like any other country. You're gonna have a passport. You're gonna come through legally. It makes no difference. It's not like we're saying no one's allowed in. You just got to be legal. That's it. You get a passport. You're in and out, like Namibia. It's going to be like going to Namibia or Zim or wherever. Like, and I don't understand why people get so scared of the idea of borders. Like, oh, I can't go see. No, you can. You're going to be able to drive through. You're going to be able to do all those things. You just need a passport. That's all you need. It's legal. That's it.
Plus, of course, your army will be utilized for the reason any army is theoretically formed in the first place, and that is to protect your international borders. Simple concept. People don't understand it. It's a very simple concept.
Yeah, exactly.
If you need to have subscription again, a conscription again, to have even the girls to go for 6 months or a year to the army, so be it. I can guarantee you, conscription, going to the army, has definitely done much better to people than damage to people. There's no question. There's nothing wrong with a bit of discipline and a bit of physical exercise.
Yeah,
No problem with
that's
that.
true. I also want to ask, seeing as you know a lot about international law, so I think some people also, when they hear secession, there's been a lot of expats from South Africa, some that were born in the Western Cape, or in areas where secession, people want secession. So what if there's someone, let's say for argument's sake, I'll use Texas as an example, because Texas has been in the news recently, also wanting secession, and I was born in Texas, so it's interesting for me now watching that happen and thinking to myself, because now from a South African that doesn't live in South Africa any for those people that don't live in South Africa now, I'm also starting to feel that same kind of sentiment that they have, where it's like, well, if Texas breaks away, am I still allowed to go there, being born there? So what is the law when it comes to that? If there's a country that secedes, you were born in that country, but you don't live there anymore, how does that work?
Okay. Firstly, it's not international law. It depends on your own immigration laws.
Okay.
Now, our immigration laws is also published on our website. And in our case, we are saying, remember, we represent the minorities of the country. Meaning, if you are an expat living in wherever, Zimbabwe, Texas, New Zealand, it's your choice to automatically accept your new double citizenship with this new country and the one that you're living in, except obviously if you're a criminal on that side, you become a criminal. We've still got the right to not accept you because you are sitting in a jail in Texas because you murdered 2 people and robbed 500
Obviously,
others.
yeah, I think
Obviously not going to
yeah.
accept you. Remember one thing, the example that I use is there are more Israelis living outside of Israel that are living inside. People talk about Jews. It's got nothing to do with Jews. It's Israelis. There are more Israelis living outside of Israel than are living inside. So the answer to your question is, you are automatically accepted as a citizen of this country with dual citizenship if you are living in Alaska, but you're a South African, or in Texas.
Okay, cool. And then I feel like this is an important comment, so I'm going to bring it up. We all know how borders work. Sorry, just saying. How do you create borders when the majority is all over the place and they don't agree with the borders? Just saying the law is on your side does not help.
Okay. The law. You are the law then. I mean, I actually don't. This is one of those funny remarks that doesn't mean anything. If you are the law, it's your country. You determine who you want to let into that country through that border or not. You can decide. Let's take the example of East Germany. East Germany had even, and I'm just saying this as an example, please don't misunderstand me. They even had automatic machine guns firing on motion when somebody wanted to cross the border. In their case,
Yes,
leaving their country, by the way.
that is
You
true, yeah.
protect your border. You don't care what people then think of if they want to not or not, if what. You are then the law. You determine who comes in and who stays out. It's a simple concept.
Yeah, I think the main thing about this whole secession thing is people just can't grasp it. It's like it's hard for them to envision. I think like a lot of South Africans over the years have traveled back and forth from Gauteng to Western Province or Eastern Cape or what have you, and it's hard to imagine now when they travel across that a certain section, the lower west side of South Africa, is now going to be a place where they have to now give a passport or stuff like that. They're worried that some people may not listen to the border. And like you just said, at the end of the day, a country protects its borders. When the lower western side of South Africa breaks away, it's going to be like a normal country. It's going to have its borders. It's going to enforce those borders, and people will just have to abide by them. It's as simple as that.
And the person that stays in Sanin, but has got his new country passport as well, travels, gets to the border as he goes into South Africa back from wherever he comes, exactly the same way. Shows his passport and comes in. Simple concept. Except in our case, it'll actually be just a bit more effective, because it's a funny thing that happened the past couple of years. I don't know if you've heard of this new invention. They call it a computer. and false passports can actually be picked up like that, but not in South Africa. It's interesting how it works. In fact, in South Africa, it was so ineffective that even England, which we had open borders with, had to impose visas on South African passport holders. I'm being sarcastic to let you know. It's so simple. If you are just very effective in the technology that we've got today, from drones to computers to check passports. It's a simple concept.
Yeah, I think South Africans have built a tolerance and also accept a lot of mediocre. So hearing about a country that's actually going to work, I think that's where it comes from. That they're so used to just getting by and a government that doesn't work, that they have no faith in a section of South Africa breaking away and being able to work, because things haven't been working. And I think that's where a lot of the disbelief comes from. I would almost like South Africans have just been hurt a lot over the years, and they've given up hope on anything working and stuff. I mean, like when I first came to South Africa 13, 14 years ago, South Africans were always asking me like, "You're from America? Why are you here? Our government's messed up. Why are you even here? This is a crap country." That's what people told me. That's what South Africans told me. I love South Africa. I always have. I'm very proud to be a South African, and I consider it a great honor to have dual citizenship, American and South African. And breaking away from South Africa, as people want to paint it as like an unpatriotic thing, I don't think so. I really don't. I think the ANC is unpatriotic to the idea that was promised to us years ago about a rainbow nation. Yeah. They have not fulfilled that promise. As a matter of fact, they've gone completely opposite from that promise and caused more damage, more poverty, more just destroyed this country. And I believe that, and this doesn't just go for the minorities that you're talking about. I mean, some people may not know this, but the Zulu kingdom is also thinking about secession. Like it's a thing, So any group in South Africa that wants to break away from South Africa, I say go for it. Build that rainbow nation that was promised to us 27 years ago. Build it yourselves, because the ANC sure as hell ain't gonna do it.
No, they won't. It's all about self-enrichment. It's all about not being happy with one Porsche in your garage. You need 5 Porsches, 3 Ferraris, and you can't use it, and you don't know what to do with the money, so you just buy it. You don't even have the intelligence and the basic EQ, forget about the IQ, to understand that you are stealing from your own people by corrupting the country. And then, of course, the logical thing is, how is it sustainable? Where's the intelligence to understand that it's not sustainable to economically ruin a country? But then again, for those people, that's irrelevant, because they, as individuals, think that they are totally untouchable, firstly, and secondly, economically, totally independent and rich for the rest of their lives, forgetting the new law that also was promulgated last year. No. It was last year. Also by the Trump administration, of people that have enriched themselves against their countrymen as government officials. I don't know if you know about that law. There's a lot of funny things going to happen here, and I can just laugh to think that those people that are so arrogant, that have enriched themselves so much, are the ones that's going to suffer. Because the reality is, it is not sustainable, not from an economic, not from a ethical, but also not from a Christian point of view, to think that you can just make and break and people must bend over. That bending over have stopped. It's not going to happen anymore. And the whole concept of, and you spoke about it earlier, the whole concept of secession or self-determination, where the people laughed at me years ago, literally every second person now realizes that is an option. In fact, I know it's the only option, but for the people that doesn't know that that's the only option, at least they realize that is an option.
Yeah.
Well, Joe, the reality is we've got a very, very rosy future. The sad thing is that if people don't realize it, all the work, all the time, all the money that we have put into this legal process is gone, and the people will die and suffer. Even the ones that think that financially they are fine, because with the stroke of a pen, Article 25 is just one example. With the strike of a pen, they can lose everything. But they are so comfortable in their lazy boys, in front of their keyboards, that they don't realize that South Africa is not so special in the world. That what happened in Zimbabwe won't happen here. What happened in Sudan won't happen here. What happened in Rwanda won't happen here. What happened in Cambodia, in Vietnam. How far do you want me to go?
Venezuela.
You want me to start Venezuela? Start mentioning all the Eastern Bloc countries where these things happened? The world is full of it. Why won't it happen in South Africa? It's busy happening in South Africa.
I just I want to so yes Siri, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Let me also first say that this person is for secession. They're just asking questions. Like, I just wanted to make that clear. So the world is a mess at the moment. The law does not seem to matter or work for sane people, which is, we've seen that. Not even the minorities can agree in South Africa, which I've personally witnessed. If the mandate has 1 million signatures, is that enough compared to 65 million?
Well, a very good question. The answer is, it's got nothing to do with the 65 million. The mandate must be 50% plus one for the minorities that were registered in the areas that we were the majority in 2011, according to the IEC figures. And that figure is 2 million people. So it's not 1 million, it's 2 million, which means there are just a bit less than 4 million minorities registered in those areas that we've identified.
Okay. I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure how the math works on that.
Okay, let me explain. Okay, let me explain that one to you. All right.
Yeah.
Let's take the area, irrelevant of the area now. I've explained to you earlier about the area. The area. Yeah. Let's say, for instance, there are, well, not for instance, that's the figure, not the exact, but that's the figure. There's 3,985,000 registered minorities in those voting districts. Okay.
Okay, I'm with you.
In order for us to have the locus standi, meaning the legal base to talk for those people, we need 50% plus one of those minorities mandate to talk for them. Now, 50% plus one will give you 1,900,000, da, 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 da. I made it a round figure and I said 2 million, which means it's actually not 50% plus one, it's 52% or something. Okay, 2 million. So the 2 million people that we need their mandates is only from the minorities. The argument, which I've heard a million times, is that yes, but the ANC are busing and flying and crawling and swimming and crawling their people into the areas. We know it. We've known it since before 1994. In fact, it started in 1991. We know that, but we are using the figures of the 2011 IEC figures, meaning they can bring in as many people as they want to. Why? In international law and international accepted norms, they are being brought in for political reasons. Now, the interesting thing is, if you do it in a so-called, and I call South Africa a so-called democracy, it's irrelevant. They can do it. We have lodged our process, our legal process, and used the government's figures of 2011. So when this referendum comes up, and they are 64 million people in the area that we want, theoretically, it's irrelevant because the international community will use the 2011 figures, and they can't change it. It's there. It's on the internet. It's published. It's there. You can't change it. So that's irrelevant. They can bring in all the Zimbabweans and the Botswana and the Zambia and Mozambique and Malawi, and you can go up as far as you want to Angola, Namibia, Angola, everywhere. Irrelevant. We are using and have lodged our process on the 2011 figures. Why not the 2020 IEC figures or the 2019 figures? Because there are none. The last official figures is 2011. So we've used the newest figures. We can't have other figures. That's the newest figures. So even if they have a new referendum, count tomorrow or next month or whatever, it's irrelevant. Our process have started long ago, and those figures have been used.
All right. Well, Hein, I want to cut it here. I did go a little bit over time because we had a bit of a technical issue at the beginning of the show, so I wanted to make sure that you were on for an hour. I will be releasing small clips of this interview, which I hope people will share far and wide of important moments in this interview. And I just want to thank you for being on. I'll give you a moment if you want to just give a final message to our viewers, especially on how or what is the most important, if people want to get involved, what is the most important thing they can do right now to get involved?
Well, firstly, Joe, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity of bringing the message out, because that's part of our problem, not only in South Africa, in the world, is that the media doesn't listen to the minorities. It's all over the world like that. So I appreciate that. Really, thank you very much. I also want to thank your viewers for watching and being interested in the solution, because I'm not worried about the problem. We're looking at the solution. And then, all I can ask and beg the people is to go to our website, www.ulacongress.com, and give your mandate. It takes literally 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And we don't want any of your money. Yes, there's a place on the website, I think, where you can make donations. You're more than welcome. It only means it's less money out of my pocket. But it's definitely not a prerequisite that you've got to give money. Absolutely not. And if you want to help to get involved with the marketing, then please contact us on our website. at this stage, we've got just over 50 people in our so-called marketing team, from IT people, obviously lawyers, advocates, senior advocates, but also people that do websites and Facebook, Telegram. I think at this stage, to be quite honest with you, and I would love to hear if there's one that is bigger, but as far as I know, the ULA Telegram group at this stage is the biggest of all Telegram groups. We are, I'm not sure exactly the figure, I can look at it up quickly, but it's 14, very close on 14,300 people on our Telegram group. People that are concerned and wants answers and solutions. It's 14,265 members as we talk at the moment.
Cool.
That's
Add me.
that's the biggest as far as I know. Say again.
Add me.
Yes, you're welcome. I'll add you, not a problem.
No, fantastic.
Because on that group, especially on that specific group, it's all about questions and answers on what happens to my farm, what happens to my boy studying here, what happens to my medical condition, how is this going to, all of those questions are answered as far as good as we can. So yes, I want to beg everybody, get involved in your own future. We are past the stage in South Africa where the politicians decide for us. We have now seen what the politicians are doing for us. Nothing. They're doing everything for themselves. And that is not only the ANC people. It's not only the ANC. It's all politicians. I would love to see the politician that's not in that category. I invite that politician for an open discussion. Open discussion.
I'll host it.
Wrong.
I'll host it.
Yes.
I'll host it on this channel.
It won't
by all
happen.
means.
Got a surprise for you, Joe. It won't happen. So
yeah.
Thank you very much, Joe. I really appreciate it. And yeah, all I can say is we are fighting for everybody, but we can't do it without that mandate.
Yeah, I think, look, Hein, I'll definitely have you back. I think there's more questions that people will probably want to ask. So, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who might be watching this a bit later, that when it's not live, that's fine. If you have any questions, please leave a comment in the comment section, and I'll collect all the questions, and then I'll have Hein back on for a part 2. And also, like, you know, I want to keep up to date with what's happening with these secession movements. So, you know, I have Phil Craig on every now and again. I'll have you on every now and again, just to, you know, for updates basically, and have another chat and talk about it and keep the idea fresh in people's mind. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, please go to the website and check it out and give your mandate if you are, you know, if you want a better future for your children, I guess I should say. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, Hein, I'm going to do a bit of a sign off at the moment. You're welcome to stay on. I'll give you a proper goodbye when I'm done. Or if you have to go, you're more than welcome to leave.
I'll wait. Thank you, Joe.
All right, cool. I'll chat to you just now, Hein. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Hein Marx from ULA. Please go check it out. Like I said, and again, guys, share this video far, far and wide. If you have anybody that is maybe in two minds about secession, doesn't quite understand it, let them listen to this interview. And like I said, I'll have Hein back again in the next month or two, or whenever something happens about secession, and keep up to date with the story. And again, if there's any questions that we missed, please leave them in the comment section. If you're watching this after the fact, please do, and I will have Hein back on and we will talk. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, please do not forget to go check out rebelstoreza.com. Please, if you're new to the channel, please leave a like and subscribe. And if you enjoy my work and you want to support the channel, please think and consider about donating to this channel. You can go to a link in the description below for more details. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I will be back on Saturday and maybe tomorrow, actually. Tomorrow I got a surprise for you guys, so keep an eye on my channel. But Saturday, I'm going to be covering a farm murders protest, a protest against farm murders in Pretoria. So that is on the ground. Like I said, I go to protests and I cover it, basically the whole thing. So that's coming up on Saturday. If I don't see you there, then stay safe, be kind to one another, and I will see you at the next one. Cheers.